This is Steve with AAA Sales and Services. I looked around on YouTube for a video explaining how to change the fuel filters on a DT466E. I personally have a 2001 International school bus, and it has the DT466E engine. And I ended up, I tried to get this fuel filter off with a chain, and I couldn't get the chain and a screwdriver to get a grip on it, and I didn't have a filter wrench big enough, so I ended up using a long punch, about a 1.5 foot long punch, and a small sledgehammer, and I ran the punch through the filter, and then when I got the punch through both sides of the filter, I was able to loosen the filter. And I did the same thing with the water fuel separator that's under the bus. It was actually more difficult to take off than this one, simply because I was laying on my back, and I was getting tired trying to turn the filter and hold myself up off the ground, kind of like doing a sit-up. So I just couldn't get I tried the chain and screwdriver method there too, which is what I did to get the big oil filter off this bus engine. Now, I bought a half a gallon of diesel, maybe 0.48 gallons, and it wasn't quite enough fuel to fill up this filter right here and the water fuel separator under the bus. So I recommend at least 3/4 of a gallon of fuel to fill up both filters. This one here, the first one I've changed was the water fuel separator, and I filled it all the way up, and I started the bus and made sure everything was running fine after that filter change, which it was. And then when I got to this one, I have watched as much content as I could find, but I couldn't really find any specific content. And there's the hand primer right there, and people have described it looking like a shotgun shell. This right here, you push this up and down a whole bunch until you feel, after you change the filter, I put about 75% of that filter capacity full of diesel, and that's all the diesel I had. So before I put the filter on, I pushed the hand primer, and fuel was coming out. So I thought, well, that seems to be right. And so the fuel coming out of there into the filter would eventually fill it up. So I pushed it a bunch and pushed it a bunch, and I was pushing. Took this rubber cap off right here, and I was pushing the center detent to release the air. I did that quite a few times, pump with a hand primer, and then push the detent to let the air out. But it didn't ever seem like it was priming up hard like people had described on YouTube or on various forums. I didn't really see any good content on YouTube. That's the reason I'm making this video. So then about 15 minutes till 5 p.m. I decided to make a quick call to the International dealer and talk to a mechanic, and he said not to use this bleeder thing here. He says don't touch that anymore, put the cap back on it, and just push the hand primer until you start feeling resistance. And he told me I could turn the key on, the ignition on the bus, because this particular bus, which is a 2001, has an electric fuel pump. He says that might help. So I did that. I turned on the key while I was pushing the hand primer, really fast up and down. And I did feel it starting to get more difficult to press, and I kept pushing it, but it never seemed to get really hard. It never seemed to resist me so much that I couldn't push it anymore. So at that point, based on what the mechanic had told me, he said try to start it, and then if it doesn't start, then go back here and push on the hand primer some more until you feel resistance again, and then try to start it again. But I went and I tried to start it after I had pumped that a bunch with the hand primer, and it was starting to feel pretty good amount of resistance. And the bus started and ran fine, and I just drove it today, probably 3 or 4 miles, and ran fine. So I was really nervous about changing these fuel filters because I did not want a broken down bus in my driveway and have to call a mechanic that knows what they're doing to come, do whatever it is I should be doing. So The fact that it's running good, I'm really excited. I wanted to share my experience with people. This is a DT466E International 2001 model. I put on the Donaldson filters. I did have, my original filter was a Fleet Guard, and it had been on there so long that the paint was actually falling off of the filter, and the filter underneath the paint was rusty. And the water separator that was on the bus was a Baldwin, and I did the research on that, and they said that was a 40 micron filter. So I replaced it with a 9 micron filter from Donaldson that has the clear twist and drain bowl on the bottom, which I really like. I'm going to have to swap out the water and fuel sensor for a larger thread, and that doesn't look like a big deal. So I'm really glad I made that upgrade. I'm glad I got the Donaldson filters on here. Yeah, so I hope that helps somebody. This is Steve with AAA Sales and Services. My website is aaa-sales-services.com. Thanks for watching.